Hey guys, welcome to Leather&Liquor&Guns. I'm Devin.
I'm Steven.
And today we are going to read to you guys what OPB put out about Measure 114. Federal court judge made her decision. Then, we had a little state judge come in for the rescue.
Thank you, by the way, state judge.
And so we're going to get into this and everything, and we'll give you our thoughts on it periodically throughout it. So, here we go. Now, this is OPB by Jonathan Levinson. Federal judge says Oregon gun measure can go forward. State judge says it cannot. Hours after a federal judge ruled a ban on high-capacity magazines in Oregon can take effect Thursday and put a 30-day hold on the permit requirement to purchase a firearm, a state circuit court judge blocked the entire law from going into effect. The new law would ban the manufacture, purchase, or sale of high-capacity magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. It would also require people to take a safety course and pass a background check to get a permit, allowing them to purchase a firearm. It would also close the so-called Charleston loophole, a gap in federal law that allows firearms to be transferred to a person after 3 days if a background check is not completed. As of Thursday, according to the federal ruling, transfers cannot happen in Oregon until the background check is completed. But Harney County Circuit Judge... God damn, that's a mouthful. But I am so sorry. Harney County Circuit Court Judge Robert Rasco said if Measure 114 were implemented, it would violate Oregonian state constitutional rights because they would be unable to lawfully purchase a firearm or bear a magazine capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition in the state of Oregon, Rasco wrote. Deprivation of fundamental constitutional rights for any period constitutes irreparable harm, he continued. A spokesperson for Oregon Department of Justice confirmed to OPB that the agency will file a mandamus petition against the Oregon Supreme Court to review the case immediately. A federal court, U.S. District Court Judge Karen Immigrant said plaintiffs suing to block the voter-approved law from taking effect did not present sufficient evidence to show they were entitled to extraordinary relief they seek. Plaintiffs have failed to demonstrate that they will suffer immediate and irreparable harm if this court does not block Measure 114 from taking effect on December 8, 2022. Immigrant wrote in her decision. The gun rights group Oregon Firearms Federation, 3 sheriffs, 2 gun store owners sued the state claiming the new law violates the Second Amendment right to bear arms. The group was seeking to block it from taking effect December 8th. 1 second of 114 going into effect on December 8th, and we have, as a matter of law, irreparable injury, the court's attorney John Kampf argued in court December 2nd. Immigrant was unconvinced. In making her decision, she wrote the plaintiffs failed to prove magazines holding over 10 rounds are arms protected by the Second Amendment, or that they are necessary for self-defense. On the contrary, she wrote, the evidence presented shows large-capacity magazines are rarely used by civilians for self-defense and often used by law enforcement and the military. Now, I want to take just a quick moment, real quick, and show off something. Now, this is a firearm that one of our subscribers, this is his wife's. Now, this is a Gerson Regard. She bought this before she was with him. Now, she has 4 beautiful children that she had before our subscriber, and she bought the Gerson Regard under the pretense that it is a full-sized handgun with 18 rounds in the magazine. Now, you think about it. You're a single mother living in the ghettos, living in a bad part of town in a crappy apartment. And people come pounding when they do. Now, do you want that little pea shooter? Or like this mama bear here, you want something that everyone's going to see, and it's going to stop everyone that sees it. Now, Immigrant doesn't want that. Make that clear. This is somebody that, literally just said that a piece like that is not used for self-defense. it's used by people that just don't care. They're not going to care what the law is. They're not going to try to go get a permit about it. They're going to have that mag, and the moment that someone like that at the time, single mother of 4 cannot have, they will have. Thankfully, that mama bought that before 114 was even thought of. Oh, now I need to find where I am. Okay. Shows large capacity magazines rarely used by civilians for self-defense and often used by law enforcement and the military. The evidentiary record shows that large capacity magazines are disproportionately used in crimes involving mass shootings, Immigrant wrote. The head of the Oregon Firearms Federation declined to comment. Thanks. Immigrant also denied a temporary restraining order blocking the provisions requiring a permit to purchase a firearm from taking effect, but she did grant a Sunday night request from the state to postpone the permit requirements until the state agencies had fully implemented this new system. Think about that. If the state hadn't come forward and said, hey, look, we can't handle this, she would have put it into effect anyways.
I also want to state that the Second Amendment isn't there for hunting. It's there to defend ourselves against any foreign and domestic threat. That domestic part is talking about these people who are trying to take your rights.
Yep. All right. In light of the difficulty the state has conceded in terms of implementation of the permitting provisions at this stage, implementation of these permitting provisions is stayed for 30 days, Immigrant wrote in her order. Sheriffs administer the state's concealed handgun license regime and have raised concerns about the new law since it first passed. Some have said they lack the manpower and resources to administer the new permit-to-purchase system. The Oregon State Sheriff's Association said the anticipated 300,000 permit applications would overwhelm local governments. Duh. OSSA estimated that it would cost approximately $50 million the first year for local governments to implement and operate the permit agent scheme, which included personal, supervisional, equipment, and software to successfully manage the system. Association Executive Director Jason Myers wrote in a statement submitted in support of a different Measure 114 lawsuit. Now, just take a moment to think of that number. $50 million. Who's going to pay that? Now, the feds ain't going to pay it.
Nope, it's going to come out of taxpayers' money.
So, everybody that voted no, everybody that was a full-blown American, pays their taxes, and has the right to do what you want in the land of the free, as long as you can back yourself up, well, guess what? You get to pay for your rights to get taken away. Ain't this glorious?
What a wonderful world it is.
Right. Union County Sheriff Cody Bowen said if the law had gone into effect on December 8th, there would be immediate damages on December 9th because people would not be able to purchase a firearm. The 30-day stay that was put on the permits kind of covered the state's butt, if you will, Bowen told OPP. It helps. It gives them time to accomplish the job they set out to do. What it looks like, I still don't know. I don't care who you are. You can hear the sarcasm and the contempt dripping off of that statement. You can't read that without throwing it in there. This may be, mattering on who you are or where you stand, somebody on the other side of the fence, but they still stand with us. This is outrageous. Bowen said he still doesn't have any idea who can teach the gun safety courses, how to train his deputies so they can train the public or other firearms instructors, or if he can even appoint people to train the instructors.
So they want the police to run this whole operation, but not even the police know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows how it's going to work. Nobody knows what's going to happen. There wasn't any pre-planning structure put into place. This was just lobbed out there from left field where nobody really knows where the hell it's coming from.
Well, we know where it's coming from.
Well, we know exactly where it's coming from, but
it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
If instructors have to be taught by law enforcement officers, it will be an enormous strain on his department, he said, along with any other police department that has to do it themselves with no extra funding. He continues, that's going to take 2 of my patrol deputies off the streets because there's no funding. He said, nobody has proposed any funding to say, hey, Union County Sheriff's Office, we're going to give you an additional $200,000 a year to cover payroll to help hire people to even do this. Speaking of the law's new constitutionality, the request before her to block the law, immigrants said the firearms federations and other plaintiffs had failed to show the permit requirement violated their civil rights. Plaintiffs provide no evidence to support their claim that the permit to purchase provisions would cause them immediate irreparable harm. Plaintiffs do not allege that their permit applications would be likely to be rejected if they were to apply for such a permit. Nothing in the permit to purchase scheme would make it impossible for plaintiffs to use their pre-existing firearms for self-defense. It is not illegal to possess a firearm without a permit. Okay. Think about that.
But it did stop how many thousands of new gun owners from getting a firearm.
So, that same subscriber whose wife, brought this over so we could do the video, they didn't want to be on camera, which, 100%, respect to them, and, many, many thanks for...
Thanks for donating to the channel.
Thanks for donating. These are obviously still theirs. We were just using them to make a point and show off a little bit. But that same subscriber, he went in about a week ago to try to buy a firearm. And so right here, I have, this is mine. Let's see. FN 509 Tactical. Now this is a full size with a 17 round magazine. He tried to buy the mid-size with a 15 round magazine. Now, it's still a really nice gun. Compared to this one, it's a little plain. But it was still, I was happy to hear about it. He went to Cabela's, though. And at Cabela's, they were telling people that if you went into the queue and you didn't go through instantly, the state was telling them to turn people away. Give them a refund. Send them on their way. Now, that's exactly what happened.
Which is unconstitutional.
Pardon me. He went through to get his firearm, and, well, he was put in the queue higher than 30,000, and so he was given a refund and sent on his way. So he went and bought a crossbow, one of them Black Friday deals from Cabela's, and it broke. Didn't even get to shoot it once. Such a shame. So he went and got his money back. It's a good thing. Test out your things within the first couple days. But he went and got his money back, and he went and bought a 1858 Remington black powder revolver. Now, this is a very nice piece, oiled up and such, and I have actually shot this. I've done a couple shorts on this, and we will show it later on and whatnot. But he didn't have to do a background check for this because black powder are not considered actual firearms in the United States. Now, just to take a moment to kind of think about that, he's a U.S. legal citizen. He has other guns in his name. But if he wasn't a gun owner, if it was a first time buying a gun, he would have been turned away, and this would have been the only somewhat reliable form of protection. Like, there's ways you can make a black powder reliable. You just have to work with it. You have to know what you're doing. But if you think about it, that's bullcrap. He was he was denied a firearm, so he had to go get something which is equally deadly. But this is a military style firearm. Like, that's what's kind of funny about it, is this may be black powder, may not be considered a gun anymore, but at one point in time, this was the pinnacle of technology. This was a military style firearm And civilians were pushed to own the same thing as the military. So why is it now it's being taken away from us? Why is it guns such as this 509 Tactical with a little threaded for the little thingy thing on it, you know, a little suppressing action? They're demonized. Oh, that's evil. That's so bad. That's not dangerous.
Except for with that, you can actually hit what you're aiming at 9 times out of 10. And with that, you're lucky if your bullet or if your round don't go curving off and hit your neighbor.
No, this does have rifling. So this isn't smoothbore. But yeah, I know you do have a point. With some black powders, they are smoothbore. And like, get a little pepper box. You're gonna pepper someone's box. That's for fucking sure. Alright. We'll continue on. It was just a little something. New legal landscape. A recent Supreme Court ruling changing the standards by which gun laws must be evaluated was frequently mentioned during the court proceedings. In New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, the court ruled any restriction on firearm ownership and use must have a basis rooted in American tradition going back to the decades before and after the Second Amendment was ratified. That ruling also said the Second Amendment is not a regulatory straitjacket and specifically allowed for shall issue permitting requirements, meaning the requirements that do not force an applicant to justify a need for a firearm. So New York's, the reason that one was pushed down is because you had to have a good reason. So your average Joe off the street, hey, I'm afraid for my safety I need a gun, was being denied. You had to be rich or famous or something else along the lines to be approved. And that was what was considered unconstitutional by that. So as long as anybody, Blow Joe or who knows, can walk in and say, hey, I want a permit to get a gun. Here's all the things I have to show I'm a legal citizen. Okay. I guess I'm not too happy about it, but I can't singularly do anything about it. So we'll be throwing some extra links in the description. Little petition to try to stop 114. Hopefully it can get enough signatures. So Measure 114's permit to purchase scheme is a shall issue permit scheme based on objective standards and is therefore presumptively constitutional under the holding of Bruin. Immerget wrote. Supreme Court also wrote in its Bruin decision that in considering cases implicating unprecedented societal concerns or dramatical technological changes, lower courts should take a more nuanced approach and conduct reasoning by analogy to determine whether a modern firearm regulation should be unimaginable at its founding. In her ruling, Immerget cited historical evidence presented by the state showing that while some versions of high-capacity firearms existed early as the 16th century, those firearms were experimental, designed for military use, rare, defective, or some combinations of these features. In its complaint, the Oregon Firearms Federation referenced the early 18th century puckle gun, considered by some to be the first machine gun. But, the state countered in court filings, there is no record of such a gun or ever having been manufactured. Presented with evidence showing the number of mass shootings since high-capacity magazines became more common and legal, Immerget concluded defendants have proffered evidence that large capacity magazines represent the kind of dramatic technological changes envisaged by the Bruin court. Immerget's ruling also applies to the second lawsuit challenging the magazine bans. There are 4 federal lawsuits challenging Measure 114. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I am honestly curious because if the puckle gun was never a thing, then why, per tale, is Ian from Forbidden Weapons sitting right next to one. Like, do these be like? This is the power of Google. I literally typed in puckle gun and went to Google Images, and there it was. Oh, where's another one? There's another picture, and another one, and another one, and another one. You see where I'm going with this? They didn't try very hard to prove it. They tried very hard to disprove it. This whole thing is just they're making a laughingstock of your rights. That thing's pretty cool, huh?
That thing is wicked.
Yeah, that's what they referenced.
All right, fine. I'm getting one of these and I'm setting it up at my front door. Sorry, neighbors. You can thank our government for this one.
Yoy hoy and a bottle of fuck off.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that thing's cool, huh, dude? You ain't never heard of it or seen it, huh?
Oh no, I've heard of it. This
That's
is
why
the
I
first
meant
time
seen
seeing
it,
it. But yeah.
Yeah. And so you can kind of see this is not something that only affects people who already own guns. This affects everybody. So if what they're honestly pushing for is for us to own stuff like that, bro, I'm down. I'm still gonna own this. But
I'll start getting
I'm
that
down.
stuff too.
Be like,
You're gonna see some
black powder and a rusty hammer, and we're gonna call it a boogaloo trip. Freaking hopefully everybody's up on their tetanus shots. Because I'm not. Or am I? I don't know. I think they gave me one when I went to the hospital last time with the laptop. But yeah, so I don't know. We don't really know where this is going to be standing at all. I mean, it literally is on the fence. Immerget is trying to push it, whereas Robert Roscoe,
well,
he's
I just want to
kind
know
of on our side. Thankfully, we had a state judge that.
I just want to know why they're so afraid of legal gun owners, legal citizens of America owning a gun when we've had guns our entire history. Like we've had guns everywhere in our history. I mean, my grandfather used to hunt on his way to school. He'd store his shotgun in his locker.
Hell, it's not. When I grew up, one of the kids I grew up with, he had to walk 2 miles down a dirt road out in the middle of the boonfucks. And so he used to walk around with a double barrel shotgun broken over his arm down the 2 miles, and, cougars, bears, and whatnot. And then he'd pull the rounds out and he'd put them in the box, and he'd hand the shotgun and the box of rounds to the bus driver. And the bus driver would put them under her seat. We'd drive to the school, and he'd come up and he'd get the box of rounds and get the shotgun from the bus driver, and he would walk up to the office, hand it to the front desk lady, and she would put a piece of tape and a sign on it with his name and put it under the desk, and that's where it sat all day until the end of the day. We do not, here in Oregon, live in a society that safe. There's a lot of tweakers, there's a lot of fucking liberals and people trying to push for you to not be able to defend yourself. They would rather you be like Canada and embrace euthanasia. But we're America. So if we do get euthanasia, it's through bacon and maybe our mental health crisis. But other than that,
we have a mental health problem, not a gun problem. I don't know.
It's kind of funny how people keep trying to push it that way too.
I don't know what it's going to take to wake everybody up to see what's going on. I mean, seriously. I mean, you can see what's happening now happen in history. World War II. They made everybody mask up. Then they took their guns. Then they killed everybody. Hey, we're wearing masks. They're trying to take our guns.
Sorry, I got distracted. ADHD.
Just think about what is going on. Research, research, research. It is your job to stay up and up on what's going on. And unfortunately, you've got to figure out what the truth is through the sea of lies.
That's tricky. Dude, I'm getting one of these. I am so getting one of these.
Yep, me too.
So, but yeah, that's we read with OPV. We're gonna put it in the description. We're gonna put vote no petition for 114 in the description as well. Thanks for listening to us read it and yammer off about random crap.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, y'all. Have a good day.
Leather, Liquor, and Guns. We're out.
Later.